Frank. I was a little bit worried Frank was going to keep going back in my past there. That might have been a little bit embarrassing. But anyway, can I just say it's really good to be here. These are really significant discussions for us to be having collectively as progressive people. I also want to acknowledge a couple of people from my union that are here tonight, Frances Flanagan and Tash Heenan, who head up our research unit and who do much of the thinking in driving an agenda for change in our union, and that's greatly valuable to me and everybody else. And these discussions around inequality and the future of work have been bubbling along in our union for a very long time. United Voice is one of the largest unions in the country. Our members are primarily low paid. They work in service sectors of the economy, and they're at very much at the pointy end of what's happening in the labour market and attacks of neoliberal policy on workers. Transitioning for us from a 19th century model of unionism into something that's more dynamic and reflective of how labour markets work today and how we can reach new people and defend the rights that we've won is something that is top of the mind on the whole executive of our union. And we know that we need to do that from a position of strength and maintaining the really important industrial principles that the trade union movement has fought for in this country. So the basic premise of my talk tonight is just to emphasise that the future of work is implicitly tied to the future of trade unionism. You can't have a good job without a strong trade union movement. And it is a sad fact that current union membership is at its lowest point since Federation. 15% of employees are union members, only 11% in the private sector. And by comparison, there was close to 40% union membership for most of the 20th century and a peak of about 65% in 1948. In the 1980s, which was a low point of inequality in this country, 1 in 2 workers were members of a trade union. The reasons for falling trade union membership are very well known. There's been a concerted push on industrial relations changes over 20 or 30 years that have incrementally removed key union functions like the general right to strike, and bargain on an industry level. It's enabled non-union members a free ride on the agreements that are bargained every day by unions such as ours, and it's also removed the ability of unions to mobilise workers around economy-wide issues and campaigns such as minimum wage. This is overlaid with structural changes in the economy that have depleted what were once bastions of trade union membership in manufacturing areas, and an increasing number of workers in the harder to organise service sector. And during these kind of economic changes, I think it is fair to say that unions were very slow to form alliances with new economy workers, women, professionals and young people, and we were very slow to respond to those sorts of changes. So consequently, there are large organised, large sections of the economy where where there's been no union presence for some time. 30 years of neoliberal policy have also impacted in the labour market. Corporate practices, government policies taken together have encouraged the rise of casualisation, outsourcing and long and opaque labour supply chains. In my union in cleaning, we see that every day. We see workers at the end of a supply chain working in a city building, employed by an ABN, forced on to sign an ABN to gain employment, and often without a very good understanding of the employer-employment relationship or where they sit legally. Supply chains have become that opaque. And I think the other thing I really want to emphasise is not to underestimate the effect of aggressive employer strategies on the trade union movement. Often in discussions of these and in discussions in the union movement, we reflect very critically on what we have done and what we could have done. But the simple fact is that the bosses have been after workers for 30 years and they're still after us, and these aggressive employer strategies play out through the creation of casual jobs, but also in more sort of subtle measures, intimidation towards employees who want to join the union, prohibition of the union coming onto sites. It is a very different environment for unions to organise in today, and that's a large reason for the falls in membership. Over the top of that, we've had labour hire, franchising, sham contracting, digital platform-based work, which means that, again, this employer-employee relationship is obscured and workers might not have a full view of who has power over their wages and conditions. So the industrial relations system hasn't caught up with these changes. We're trying to regulate and organise these kind of workers without the proper tools. And the new economy workers, the gig workers, young people, overseas students and visa workers are really fodders for exploitation in this very grey space. So it's really important to note that as union power has declined and our ability to sort of influence these trends has weakened, corporate power, greed and inequality has increased. And labour and social movements have been very atomised in responding to these trends. So how have we responded at United Voice? We're under no illusions that the challenges of organising workers is dramatic, and in some ways we've been doing that for 100 years. Our union started as the Watchmen, Caretakers and Cleaners Union in 1910. We've always organised in scattered, fluctuating, diverse memberships areas in far-flung regions of the country and in occupations that were solitary and were performed outside normal working hours. So we have some capacity and some experience in reaching new workers. We've also adapted to changing circumstances. In the mid-1990s, our union embraced the organising model, and that was a major shift in our union that reinvigorated our approach to organising, and today sits within our union as a core value. But what might be less obvious is the enormous resources that are involved in organising in the trade union movement today. Our membership, due to job turnover and a range of other factors, our membership turns over every 4.5 years. So we work extremely hard in organising just to stay still. And by organising, I mean one-on-one, hand-to-hand, worker-to-worker conversations in workplaces without employer support and where we often have limited capacity to bargain. That is a core value of our union. We've got our foot on the organising pedal, we can't take it off, but at the same time we know we have to innovate and we have to find new techniques and new ways to reach workers, and that's where we've got some exciting and really creative prospects in our union, and ones that we are absolutely up for. It also means for us being clear that inequality and not inflation, wage breakouts or powerful unions, is the single largest risk to advanced economies like Australia. And this is the conclusion that was formed by Joseph Stiglitz, the chief economist of the Bank of England. And you know, it's important to note Australia has just entered the bottom half of OECD countries in terms of inequality. This doesn't just play out in the economic indicators, it's also seen in the diminishing respect that it is accorded to workers today, particularly low-wage workers. Andrew Lee, the federal MP, tells a story about how as a sign of inequality is the fact that the cleaner no longer is trusted with the keys to the building. And that is certainly something that brings that home real. It's something that our members experience every day. The changes that we are confronting also mean being very clear that digital technology has the potential to both deepen and perpetuate inequality and insecurity if it's not harnessed in the correct ways. We know with the impact of digital surveillance, platforms, ratings and big data in most industries has just begun. Technologies will have countless effects on the way that work is arranged and organised, including it will lead to heightened levels of real-time surveillance in which workers are tracked and rated on the quality and quantity of the work and the satisfaction levels of people they interact with. It's already sparked the unbundling of jobs into small gigs comprising micro tasks that people bid for over the internet, and that provides no recognition of different levels of skills. And digital platforms are replacing employers, transforming employees into contractors who must purchase and maintain all of the infrastructure of the business and assume all of the risk. We're also seeing work quality increasingly judged on digital metrics, including subjective client satisfaction ratings, and workers are forced to maintain and protect their individual brand and future earnings through additional emotional labour to keep their ratings high. So our members are experiencing both the worst impacts of the old economy around franchising, contracting out, supply chain, and they're also confronting increasingly the new techniques that are being spurned by these digital platforms. So how are we responding? As I said, we're organising, but we're also our members are also coming together to talk about these things in terms of our new campaign, which is called Jobs You Can Count On. And this recognises a reciprocal relationship between workers and the community. For example, an educator can say, you count on me, I teach your children, I need a job that I can count on as well. And this must be at the heart of a cohesive society and a strong economy. Job security is a major demand by our members. We've recently spent the last year talking to our members about inequality, talking to workers from ambulance, paramedics, through to cleaners, security guards, early childhood educators, aged care workers, and it's really interesting how all of them are feeling the same pressures and seeing that things are not playing out in the economy in a way that is fair and decent and reasonable. And our members aren't radical people. Sometimes we wish they were a little bit more radical, but there is a building anger out there around inequality and a real desire for solutions and some sort of responses. And we're up for putting ourselves as a union at the centre of that response. We're advocating for a new method to set the minimum wage, recognising that the gap between minimum and average earnings is now higher than it's been for about 20 years at 44%. We're fighting for equal pay for early childhood educators. I don't know if you saw our national walk-off on the news yesterday. That was a fantastic galvanising moment for women workers whose work has been undervalued for way too long, and it's the beginning of a really exciting campaign. And we're also investing in digital technologies because we know they'll have an important place in the 21st century. We've got a project in hospitality that is finding new ways to connect with and represent young hospitality workers, and we're up for looking for new models of trade union membership as part and parcel of that project. And we're also piloting a digital tool that members can use on their phone that will empower them with industrial knowledge and the ability to organise online. So we're doing a lot, we're changing a lot, there's a lot to do. It's a really exciting moment, but I think the union movement collectively realises that we have to change, and we have to sort of innovate, and we have to do what we do better and bring our members with us. From United Voice members' point of view, it is really great to see that they are up for our union being front and centre in leading a response to some of these challenges. And as a movement, these are also very live discussions within the ACTU. I think unions, the future of unions is really important. Unions can offer workers something that no other organisation can. A heightened sense of control over their workplace, their time and the quality of their work, and over digital work increasingly. We offer a counterweight to big business and the government that no other institution can. Trade union movement is the largest civil society organisation in this country, so don't write us off yet. Thanks.